Hello, Hernan, and welcome to Hands in the Soil podcast. I'm really excited to have you here with me today. And I know that it was a little bit of a surprise interview and you weren't quite expecting this, but I'm really grateful that you're here with me and you're sharing your time and sharing your wisdom with our listeners. How are you today?
I'm doing great. We're in the middle of harvest, and the weather should be cooling off this week. So, yeah, very grateful to be here. I'm very happy to meet you. And here we are. I'm ready.
Here we are. Just to get us started, could you share a little bit more about your journey into agriculture, how you got into this place where you are, and what that looked like?
Yeah, sure. For me, my parents, I'm born and raised in Mazatlan, Sinaloa, in Mexico. And for me, my parents live in the city. But since I was a kid, I would go to the cemetery on the country with my grandma to paint the graves and just, stay on the country, on the farm town. And for me, since I was a kid, I had that bug, of like going back to the farm. And when I moved to the state, I started gardening, and we start farming like almost 20 years ago. And it started like a small project. I think at the beginning for us, it was we wanted to grow the best produce for our kids and feed our kids really good food. And then soon it turned into like enough food for us and then enough food to sell. And then the rest is story. So little by little.
Little by little.
Mhm.
So you are now co-owning and running Solidarity Farm in San Diego. Can you share a little bit more about that farm and what that looks like and what some of the intention behind even bringing that farm forward into San Diego?
Yeah, I mean, for us, since we started the farm, we have the goal to produce quality produce on a natural way without harmful chemicals in a regenerative way and share with our community. And along the way, the first 10 years were a lot of learning, a lot of procedures, learning the ins and outs of farming in San Diego County. And then around year 8, year 10, we really wanted to share our experience and we realized that we need more farmers. So we also are, besides a commercial farm, we also operate a training center. So we always been having like beginning farmer trainings, apprenticeship program. So for us, since day one, we realized that we need to stay innovating, but at the same time, keep giving back to the community and share what we've learned. Our old farm used to be in Palma Valley, which is just down the hill. But right now, we are located in Valley Center in our new location. We just moved here like a year ago.
What's the size of
Let's see.
the farm, just for context, and kind of like what's your growing space look like?
Right now, we're on maybe 2 acres on production, maybe a little bit more. But since we keep our farm very diversified, it depends on the time of the year. Sometimes it can stretch out to 5 acres. It can go down to like 1 or 2 acres in the winter. Yeah, so that's the size of a farm.
Hmm. Okay, cool. You had mentioned before that people kind of talk about like small scale and human scale farming
Mm.
as like a way to farm, as like an understanding of like the right size of a farm. Can you talk a little bit more about that and just what does that mean to you? What does that look like?
Yes, I'll try to answer that without getting in trouble. So for us, our vision is we believe that farming should be regenerative and local. And we believe that we need a lot of farmers. We need the change that we want to see is a lot of small scale farming in a local level and a decentralized level, working together to feed our communities. So we need a lot of more farms. And what I mean by local human scale is like farms that involve humans in the footprint of the farm, right? So it could be from 1 acre to 2 acres to 3 acres. But we believe that the more small scale farms we have, the more resilient we'll be to any adversity uh, against these huge corporations and huge farms that are kind of taking over. So for us, like human scale, local, and regenerative farm, um, it's kind of our dream. It's like
Hmm.
the true change that we need in our communities.
I guess in that human scale operation, I think a lot of people wonder around technology and different types of machinery that could be used or not used, and kind of the like pros and cons of that, because we see a lot of bigger farms, industrial level farms that are really just relying on machinery and there's less humans involved in those processes. How do you understand that, or how do you approach that in your level of
Yeah,
farming?
sure. I always tell people, like, we live in a time that we have so much innovation when it comes to tools and technology. So I think part of us and part of the small scale farming community we need to understand is that we need to start using all these tools to help our farms, right? And also to make our job a little bit easier. Like, there is so many new technology when it comes to like greenhouse, seeding, flipping beds, two-wheel tractors, you name it. There's all sorts of new technology that we need to use to our advantage to try to mimic a little bit what nature intend to do in the first place. And when in terms of the larger scales and the machinery, like, we're not against machines or technology. On our farm, we have a tractor, we have a couple tractors, we have tools, we have two-wheel tractors, we have all sorts of tools. But we try to use that to our advantage to heal the soil or to keep the soil alive. And when it comes to farming in general, I always tell people, it might be kind of silly to say, but like, if your farm looks like a moon landscape, at the end of the season, and there's no living organisms on the soil, you're doing something wrong, right? So for us,
Mm,
our farm has to be looking better every year. The soil needs to look better every year. The microorganisms and the mycorrhizal, everything in the soil should be looking better every year with the practices that you're doing, and also the people around it, right? So it starts with the soil, the plants, the people, and then your community. So for us, we try to integrate all those aspects into our regenerative practices, right?
hmm. Do you have any favorite tools
Hmm.
that you like to use, or ones that you like suggest for, every small farm should have this?
Yes. uh
or just a personal favorite?
oh, I have a big list. um a good prep rake, preparation rake,
Mm,
I think is the common mistake I see on beginning farmers. Like, spend a little bit of money to get a nice prep rake to get your beds ready. And after that, I think a BCS two-wheel tractor. I'm not sponsored by them, but they're a really good, uh, a good tool. You can have a plethora of different implements that you can use for low impact and low tillage on your soil. So a prep rake and a two-wheel tractor, and then if I can add a number three, a really good seeder. You really need a good seeder if
mm,
you're thinking about commercial operation. You can't keep direct seeding by hand. Once you move to a really good direct seeding machine or tool or any seeder, you are really kind of getting ahead
mm-hmm,
of the game.
mm-hmm. Which is your favorite cedar? What do you all use?
I'm not gonna share my secret. Not just kidding. Um, Honestly, we use the Jank cedar.
Okay.
We do have a Earthway that we still use once in a while, but any type of Jank, 5 row, 3 row, 2 row, single row, the
Mm-hmm.
Jank is especially for the type of farming we do. I always tell people we use vacuum seeders in the past. I always tell new farmers, um, your type of soil and your amendments will dictate what kind of seeder you need to use. So there you go.
Mm,
Good tip for people.
that's a good tip. Yeah, I feel like there's kind of always this conversation between the Jang and the Earthway of, which one is the favorite. And I know a lot of people that just love their Earthway, but yet I find the Jang to be a lot more easeful to work with at times. But I like that little tip of the type of amendments you
Mm-hmm.
use can dictate the cedar that you need.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's still times even after so many years using the Jang, there's occasions or times that we still bring back the Earthway, especially when it comes to like sometimes radishes or like some seed there are cheap seed or when
Mm-hmm.
we need to overseed, we bring the jang into the picture. Sorry, the earthweight into the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yes.
So, as you're in the regenerative ag space, and that's like a big intention that you're bringing forward and you have been bringing forward, have you seen a shift in regenerative agriculture in San Diego? Or what do you see for kind of like where does regenerative agriculture stand here in San Diego?
So I think what's happening with regenerative agriculture is the same thing, the similar thing that happened to the farmers in the 60s and 70s when they were trying to bring organic into the certification as a label. So one of the things that we notice is that there is a lot of government institutions and private companies, especially multinational companies, trying to get their foot on the door with these regenerative practices, right? Because they know that there's like the word is the buzzword. I'm not, I'm not even a big fan of the word myself, but uh, last week we had a gathering with the at the co-op, food shed co-op, with the farmers to kind of to describe and decide what regenerative practices, what are we comfortable with. And for me, I always wanted to share that if it's regenerative and organic, or regenerative and no chemicals, petroleum based chemicals or inputs, or regenerative and no GMO, it's good,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be the farmers in a local level that decide what it actually means, right? So we need to stay ahead of the game and try to really protect that word and not let these big companies co-opt the word. And we believe as long as if it's a farmer led and peer to peer, and the farmers and the local level are talking about and agreeing on what regenerative farming is, I think we're on a good track. And I always tell people, just be aware of who's like mentioning that word. We don't want it to turn into another government and like label that we need to comply just because someone far away ahead decided that it's like that's what you need to be regenerative. Like I said, I can't stress it enough. It has to be, it has to be pushed by the local farmers and the local community to decide, not by foreign
Mm-hmm.
entities.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on like if someone tried to bring forward a regenerative agriculture certification? Do you think that's possible or not necessarily? I mean, if it was the same way as organic has kind of moved through, it would be co-opting, it would just be the same thing, but I'd be curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think what we think the best thing is to do is, can you verify and can you certify, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
big issue with regenerative practices, that you don't see the outcome right away, right? So I think we need to rethink the way that we see certification into a more longevity project, or a more long-term project, where we set up different stages of it. The first stage is a verification. The second stage is like, you know um certify that you're doing this practices that actually are making a change into your operation, right? So I'm not
Mm,
sure how it will look like necessary to certify it or have a label, but at least we can start
yeah.
describing what it actually is and have a common sense between the local farming community.
Mm-hmm.
The peer-to-peer certification, and to be on the same level, it's a good starting point when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
regenerative. And also, we got to be careful. I don't think you can be a regenerative farm without having natural principles, right? Like, or organic
Yeah.
principles. Like, you can't be regenerative and apply glyphosate to eliminate weeds. That way, you don't have to till, and you're saving fuel on it. That doesn't make any sense, which happens on the Midwest, right? So I think we need to be
Mm-hmm.
really careful when we are having these conversations. What I think the most important thing to do as farmers is to, and organizations as well, to really put the money into the farmers and help the farmers sit together and figure out this new buzzword.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is a huge buzzword and you see it everywhere. It's like in all the grocery stores, it's everywhere. But I love that of actually bringing it back to can it be a farmer-led movement? And it needs to be something that is also kind of defined in communities, because the definition could change depending on the needs of different places all over.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's a pretty beautiful context, right? Because then you have my regenerative practices might look different than a farm in Quebec or a farm in Washington,
Yeah.
Olympia, Washington, right? For the most part, they're going to be very similar, but but there's a big difference. The way that we're going to mitigate the season and the temperatures here are going to be different. But that's the beauty of farming, right? So if we can figure out how to, you know, again, have a bunch of small farms in a local level, they're working together to feed our community. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
super. I mean, that's the future, to be honest. Like, that's the future of resilient on our farm and many farms. And we actually need more farms.
Mm-hmm. We do. We definitely need more farms and more farmers and more capacity for new farmers to be farmers longer down the line. Do you feel like that's happening here in San Diego?
I mean, definitely. I mean, I think people are realizing that farming is hard. But I think I don't know. I'll use example of our co-op, food shed co-op. I think we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing a lot of farmers about my age not being young farmers anymore, kind of like in the middle. And I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
excitement about mentorship. Like if other farms, other communities can figure out how to work together, that's going to be the key point for us. Like the co-op is like a pivot point where we can like chat with each other, share experiences, train people, sell our produce. So I really hope that other places and other areas, not just San Diego, can get together and figure out how they can work together to target different market outlets and different resources and yeah. I think I see a little bit of hope in San Diego. There's a lot of young people that want to get into farming. We have a big challenge ahead, which is where, right? Because San Diego, I mean, everybody, everywhere in California, rent is it's really high, so the entry point
Mm-hmm.
for a young farmer is really difficult. But I think there is a specific smart ways that we can go about it and work together, and and yes, I think it's super important to figure out how to get new farmers into farming. But I also want to touch another aspect that maybe I didn't talk too much about it to also figure out how to share the knowledge with the young farmers and let them know to get those years of experience first, be patient and put the time in, you know, and invest on your skills and and
Mm-hmm.
your and your learning process of farming and learning from other people before you go into debt, right? Or before you
Mm-hmm.
buy a property and then you're like really stressed out buying or like selling stuff in order to make your payments. So learning first, learning from another mentor, and then slowly build to it, you know? Even if you have to spend
Mm-hmm.
2 years on a farm and then another year on another farm and maybe start saving a little bit and then have that little cushion and then that ability and that knowledge so you don't do a lot of mistakes on your first year when you get your farm. You want to get your farm when you already have a couple years of experience and when you already kind of know what you're going to do.
You're saying to play the long game.
Thank you. That's a good way to put it. It's a long-term game. And the
Mm-hmm.
more skills and the more knowledge and the more prepared you are, you know, especially when it comes to like most of us love to be out on the field, right? But there's this other aspect
Mm-hmm.
of farming, the business aspect of farming that a lot of times get kind of like no much attention by the younger generation. But if you can do that before you take that leap of faith to the long-term investment, you're gonna be ahead of the game, and you're gonna be way better off if you get those 10,000 hours of experience before you start farming.
That's good advice too. I agree. I think just being able to like really take in as much as you can and make those mistakes before you're on your own would make it a lot more, could help to make it a lot more seamless, and just building the connections that you can along the way and having those potential mentor farmers or, those people in your community that you can lean on and ask for support and rely on in those moments of need, because farming involves so many things
Yes,
that like you often don't know until you're just in it, and you can't really prepare for until the moment is there. Yeah.
absolutely.
So on that topic, what are some of your hopes for the future of farmers in California?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the future of farming, I think I mentioned like 3 times already, but like a lot more small scale farms, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely a lot of more training on small scale farms. Right now, we're actually running an apprenticeship program through Foodshed, which has been amazing. So more projects like
Mm-hmm.
that where young people can have a little bit of experience before they venture into long-term investment. And also um, more co-ops involving farming and marketing. We've been very lucky to have Foodshed, which is a multi-stakeholder co-op where the farmers and the workers are members of the co-op, and having to tell that story between the producer and the consumer and the worker has been huge. So I think we need more food hubs, not just food shed. We need more food hubs in different locations, but we need more food hubs led by farmers. So I think if we're able to work on that and work in a little bit of cooperativism and helping each other and figuring out that we don't have to compete to each other. I mean, we have millions of people in California. We should not be fighting for market outlets. It's ridiculous. It
Mm-hmm.
hurts my soul to go to the markets in San Diego and watch my friends competing to each other. I feel like we need to be a little bit more. We need to be smarter the way that we market our stuff and the way that we move our stuff. And my hopes for the future in San Diego farming is when the farmer doesn't need to stretch to sell their produce. Like people should be knocking at the door
Yeah.
on their farm to get their produce, right? So I think we have a great opportunity here in San Diego County. I mean, we have a lot of small farms. I think I'm not sure if we still have the most small farms in the country, but there's a lot to work. There's a lot of experienced farmers. There's a lot of mentors. There's farmers on their 60s, 50s, late 50s that are willing to share their knowledge. So I think we have something really special here. And yeah, and I think
Mm-hmm.
just I invite to anybody that is trying to do a related program that always try to have the farmers in front.
Agreed. Their voices need to be heard more, and they have this deep connection to, like, they're like the foundation of any food system that's operating. And it would be a lot more helpful if they were able to kind of bring their voices to the mix more.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you would like to speak to that we didn't speak to, or anything that you would want to leave the listeners with today?
Yeah, to me, if I can recap, if you're a beginning farmer or you want to start farming, start by acquiring some experience, some knowledge, learn from someone that has been doing it for a while. Don't be afraid to go and put some time. Um, there is like the whole thing about the 10,000 hours to become good at something. It is so true. It's
Mm-hmm.
important to put the time on. Farming is hard, but it's amazing to be outside. And there's a lot of opportunity in San Diego County right now to learn and to learn from some other people that are already doing some of the similar stuff. We need more farmers. And then in terms of or co-op, if more people can try to figure out to find a common denominator to work together, that's where it's at. I think we would not be able to do what we do in Foodshed if it wasn't for a huge core of local farmers. So
Mm.
we need to break the the mentality that we're competing with each other, and understand that if we can figure out how to work with each other, we will we will have a better longevity, like a better outcome.
Yeah, thank you. That was very well said. That was like a perfect summation of this whole conversation. Just to wrap up our conversation, could you just share with us one more time a little bit more about Solidarity Farm, and even if you want to share more about Food Shed Co-op and kind of the partnership that you all have there. I know that Solidarity is a pretty well-known farm in San Diego, but not all of our listeners are in San Diego. So if you want to share a little bit more about Solidarity and what you all are up to, please do.
Sure. So Solidarity Farm has been around for almost 15, 16 years. And since day one, we wanted to produce the most beautiful, nutrition dense produce around and share with the community, and also make sure that we had the best food for our kids. And that's kind of was the beginning. Um, there was a lot of social activists involved at the beginning. We thought that farming will be the biggest challenge in San Diego County to have around, so we choose the hardest thing to do. And since day one, our core mission is to produce naturally, without chemicals, without harmful chemicals or petroleum based or GMO seeds, and also train people. So we realize right before the pandemic that we were going to need more farmers. So also training and offer different types of apprenticeship program is going to be at our core. So yeah, so we've been a commercial farm slash training center for a lot of different people in San Diego County. We're a diversified farm. We grow all sorts of vegetables, chickens, broilers, layer hens. We have pigs in the past, and goats,
Mm.
horses, donkeys, and a lot of fun people to be around. And yes, thanks for asking.
You have an orchard too, don't you?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for it was till this year that we finally landed on our new farm. And so we have a little bit of a more long-term vision here at our new farm, and we're integrating an orchard. There's going to be used as a um, diversified or like multi-stuck different activities like the orchard, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
going to be chickens around, and then there's going to be a perennial garden next to it. So it's a lot of new stuff that we're integrating on this year on our farm. We're probably going to do some other grapes and more trees and hopefully more perennials. I'm getting tired of annual crops, to be honest.
Yeah, they're a lot of work because you just have to keep turning them over.
Yes. When Kat sent me the email, I was like, I applied because for the first year on this new place, I didn't want to have too many like, like events or anything because we're not ready because we're building our infrastructure. And
Mm.
then I was like, you know what? I think that's the best time to bring new people so they can see. So our apprentice right now, they're gonna get a really good 6 months training because they're seeing like a new wash station, new greenhouses, open new fields,
Mm.
planting trees. So it's been fun. It's been fun to share that with the new people that are learning because
Yeah.
I wish I would have done that like 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because at the beginning, I was like, we're not ready for people. Then I'm like, you know what? That's even if it's not like our old farm where we were already settled, it might be a good opportunity for people to be like, oh, this is how you do this.
Yeah, I
So,
think that's huge.
mhm.
And like really, I think really a special opportunity for people to get to see also just those like real time ways that, it's like a greenhouse doesn't just appear. Like, like there's so much that is involved in bringing the infrastructure to a space too. So, especially for people who maybe want to have their own farm one day, getting to experience like all those nuances, I think is huge.
All the headaches.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and just sharing more about who you are and what you do. I'm excited to get to see the space. I was never at your original space, so I'm excited to get to see this new one.